You're watching CCN, Clarksville Community Network, produced by Goodwin Productions. Powered by CDE Lightband.
You know, I think that the march, I've tried to think about what could you compare it to, what kind of feeling, and I decided that it was like a family reunion.
Through a pandemic, it did not matter. Having to wear masks, it did not matter. We were marching for the greatest cause of all, and that's equality.
It was refreshing to see all of these women coming together for the very same purpose of just being there for women.
It was just a feeling of just fulfillment to see that many people want to come out and celebrate and to just see what Clarksville was able to do.
We were very, very honored that people felt they should come out and do this march with us.
The day just represented so much of what we're currently facing and just a reflection of what we've been facing for hundreds of years. It was very inspirational and impactful moment in my life and many of the people that I attended with.
This 100th anniversary, you know, it had a special meaning, a special calling, and I was involved in the 75th anniversary. So I had kind of a sense of who would come and why they would come. And again, it was like a magnet sort of drawing you to it. This is a movement, this is a moment that was important to certain people for certain reasons. They had their own reasons, it meant something, but it also had a universal appeal to women. It means something about your rights, about having to continue to try to make change, to improve life.
2.5 years ago, that a group of about 20 women, we met at the Smith-Tryon Mansion, and the question was asked, should we do this? And I made the comment that I think it would be a shame if we didn't do this. We were looking at what Nashville already had, Knoxville already had, Memphis already had, and you know, we're up there. Clarksville's not the Clarksville that existed 50 years ago. It's a progressive town. So we went ahead with it. Probably about 4 months ago, we were in committee here at the museum, and we were asking who wants to take over the parade. And of course I love parades, so I volunteered to do that. When we started doing the parade, getting it organized and so forth, we had no idea. We were in the middle of planning a big, all no holds barred type of thing, and then slowly we scaled back because of the pandemic. And quite honestly, when we got down to the parade that day, we had no idea what was gonna happen. But as we were there and we saw carload after carload unloading, and kids coming out and teenagers coming out and the grandparents coming out, men coming out, we were so pleased.
I was not surprised to see 300 plus women in Montgomery County come out to march. It was an amazing thing, and I know that other women who would have loved to have been there and weren't able to have been able to watch it on video and see and talk to their friends and find out. And a lot of them have come down since then to actually see the statue in person. So I know it was a great event. It was a powerful event for Clarksville and Montgomery County.
During the pandemic, none of us really expected a huge turnout. Little did we know that many people knew about it, and they all came, and they all had their face masks, and there was a huge turnout, which was honestly amazing. It was immaculate.
I was so excited to see so many women come out. We had every race, color, you name it, we were there. Every organization, there were women from all of the different organizations that I'm a part of. I am a retired United States Army veteran, 25 years of service, and Clarksville has become my home. I am a community activist, and I believe in bringing our community together to become a better place to live. I felt a little bit torn because, as I said in the beginning, I'm a member of so many groups, and I also helped to kind of put that parade together. So it was like I wanted to be with each one of my segments and just march with them and be so proud of what we were able to accomplish on Saturday. Delta Sigma Theta as a sorority has been on the front line of what we call social justice from the beginning. We actually marched in the first march in 1913, and those ladies, our founders, really set a precedence for what social action is and what social justice looks like. Come rain, sleet, snow, hail, I think that on Saturday, we were gonna be there. I felt like they were able to be there back then. Why not show up today to celebrate 100 years of that event and just continue the legacy of what they set forward to make sure that women have the right to vote.
The whole day was an absolute success. The marching down, the consolidation of the women there, all ages and all ethnicities, marching together, coming down Franklin Street. Somebody made the comment that they had seen lots of parades in Clarksville. They'd never seen one like that.
There was just no way I would not attend. Even in the midst of a pandemic, I honestly forgot about the pandemic. I was getting dressed and I was telling my mother about it, and she's like, "Where's your hand sanitizer and your mask?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I have to do that." Being a member of Delta Sigma Theta and that being our first public act of service in our sorority hundreds of years ago, and knowing that if those women can march in a time where they're being attacked and ridiculed and persecuted just for their basic rights, there was no way I could not attend, even in the midst of a pandemic. Anything else that really could have taken place that day.
I thought it was a very great event to participate in on Saturday, to march in memory of the suffragettes from 100 years ago who fought so hard to be able to get women the vote. Not only did they fight hard to get women the vote and continue, they were jailed, they were abused, they were talked about, but 45 years later, women still fought to get all women the vote. And the reason I marched on Saturday was because in 1965, when Lyndon B. Johnson passed the Voting Rights Act, my grandmother, who was an immigrant, came here in 1922, wrote a letter with an 8th grade education to Lyndon B. Johnson, thanking him for giving women, all women, the right to vote. And he wrote her a letter back, and for her, that was the most important thing that ever happened to her in her life in this country. I owe her a debt of gratitude for her persistence and belief in America, in coming to America for a better life. And for all the women who went before me, who have given me the opportunity, not only to exercise the right to vote, to be a recipient of that right to vote, and to be able to participate in today's government to ensure that my community continues forward.
These women fought so hard just to simply get their voices heard in order to make decisions involving anything in their life as well as anybody else's life, which they didn't used to have a say in at all. And it's, of course, nobody can really wrap their head around that nowadays. Now I feel like it's the least I could do to show up in the morning to the polls and put in my vote that these women had worked so hard for someone like me to be able to do without me even, and I don't even think twice about it.
We had the grandmothers explaining to the granddaughters what was important about this day and why it was important to show your support by wearing the yellow roses and so forth. So it was not only a fun day, it was a very educational day. And I think that a lot of them felt the history of it. They wanted to be able to say, I was there that day, I marched that day, and leave a memory for their grandchildren also to know that you were involved in something that we consider very historic.
The purple and gold represented many things, I think, just for purple being of royalty and the yellow of the women that were part of the organization. And then they really brought everyone together. For me, those were colors that represented women, royalty, and unity across all platforms, because there were women from several different organizations, but there were a lot of mothers and daughters that attended, and I was a little jealous because my mother is in Illinois, to be able to attend, and as well as youth. So to be able to see that and bring everything together in the midst of everything that we have going on was really just inspirational for me.
I think that we had so many folks who came dressed. You know, some folks had on, well, most people had on white, and that's what we had asked, was in honor of the suffragists, let's show some kind of unity, and that's what they did. So this is kind of harkens back to the real suffrage movement, and people did dress for it because it meant something. And then there were people who went absolutely all out, had on period costumes, had a grand time, and then there were people who had on a white shirt and their shorts, but they had something on that made them feel like they were part of the movement.
The colors that were asked for us to wear were, of course, white, purple, and gold, and they were adopted back in 1900s from our fellow suffragists from Britain. Harry Byrne from East Tennessee, a 24-year-old representative that was one of the voting population when Nashville was taking the vote. His mother actually wrote him a letter. He changed at the last moment from the red to the yellow, which helped solidify Nashville voting for the 19th Amendment to pass. So it's significant because that was the brand colors from that year. The white was for the purity of what that stood for. It also allowed women to stand out from the dark colored suits that men used to wear. That was a standout color to be in all white. Plus it was cheaper. Women are very smart. You find a way to be frugal and pretty. That's all we need to do. And purple, I think, has royalty, loyalty, and all the great things of just elevating the voice and elevating the state of what women were doing back in 1920.
I received so many wonderful text messages saying, you guys look so regal and elegant and poised, but then we know, and if you know Delta's, like we mean business, so that's what we do. We can come and represent and look beautiful, but we're there to kind of impact change at any time that we show up, especially in large numbers. So we were excited just to have all the organizations and all the women there representing. And particularly to see the young people there, because to think back on this moment, and as many have said before, 100 years ago and then 100 years in the future, as an educator, you want to impart that legacy and that knowledge into the youth early. And so to see and hear the words of some of the young ladies that wrote letters and essays and that participated, that was very inspirational to see.
During the actual march, it was wonderful. You know, we had this fife and drum, and people really were enjoying just the feel of it. But you could tell there was something else they wanted to do. And then it was almost spontaneous. There was a leader, Wanda Smith, who's on the city council, was standing by me, and she started saying, vote, vote, vote. And it just picked up and rippled. And then she really started with the chant, you know, what will women do? Vote, vote, women vote. It was wonderful. I mean, you just could feel bubbling up of a commitment.
The day of the parade on Saturday was helping film the event. And then when the march finally started and we beat them to the front of the street or to the statue before the unveiling, we could see them just marching all the way down. It was just this huge sea of white and yellow and purple, and it was honestly just completely humbling.
I was in the front holding the banner. I was so proud. It was just an amazing thing to be able to hold the banner, to be able to celebrate for women enfranchisement. I can't believe that anything else in this city could beat that event.
I think that, of course, the central piece of this was unveiling the monument. And so many people had worked so hard for so long, and to be surrounded with this enormous audience of people that cared about what they had done. It was wonderful. It was a glorious moment, and they pulled the tarp off, and it was exciting. People were clapping, and they were happy to see it. Plus, that monument is different than many others in that she captures a moment. She captures the moment that Tennessee had a role in helping women actually put that ballot in the box. And then on top of that, she had a message. You know, she was the past, she was the present, and then her message, women, use your vote. That was a message to the future.
Those were the perfect words, I think, for the moment of where we are in our country, and being able to use your vote, because so many people have felt like their vote does not matter, and that's unfortunate. I have voted since, you know, the moment I was able to vote, so I haven't had that perspective, but I could see how that could be challenging.
Couldn't have a better sign. Women use your vote. Simple and effective, and honestly the message they were trying to get across for so many years. And I think that message is even more important now, with maybe a lot of young people not having the motivation to go to those voting booths and actually put their word in, but put in an educated vote in, is all these women wanted for the women of today to be able to do.
I would say the Tennessee Triumph, she's beautiful. When you look at her or see her face, the dedication to casting that first vote, the fact that she didn't necessarily look like any specific person or race or entity, she was just a woman. I think Tennessee Triumph has taken her rightful place in downtown Clarksville.
Lakier, the artist who created that bronze statue, Tennessee Triumph, embodied all women in that statue. He didn't make that statue with the features of one particular race. He made that statue to represent the strength and persistence of all women, always. And I was so impressed. I was with friends who were black, friends who were white, and everybody looked at it and everybody came out with something different, something that they could pick up on that statue. It is the most beautiful statue because it embodies the strength of women.
Well, you're talking about the time period of 1920, so you're talking about ankle-length dress, and that was one of the changes that we made with the statue. The statue, we felt the dress was too long, so we pulled that up, and of course more of the boot was showing then. The courage that it took just to go up there to register and know that there's going to be these men at these doors looking at you, and you getting that feeling of, am I worthy?
100 years ago, some women decided to march and make this action. So 100 years later, for us to put this milestone in place in Clarksville that someone will see in 100 years from now, we held on to that history and we continue to strive to that. Not just a mark in time, but actually a stamp on what women's right to vote actually look like.
The foot of Tennessee Triumph has the names of all the women who have served Montgomery County politics, past and present. And if you look and see the names on those bricks, that is the legacy of Montgomery County.
When you're looking at our current state of affairs across the U.S., especially for African Americans, sometimes we feel like, things are the injustices that continue to happen to us, but we continue to stand up and to, a lot of times we used to say, rock the vote. I'm dating myself. That was a vote campaign years ago when I was in college. It's needed now more than ever, and it will continue to be important, and not just in presidential elections. At congressional votes, local votes, state votes, we need to be sure to know about candidates, all the candidates, and to be able to impact change, you have to be aware.
It was positive, and that was the overall feeling from this march. It was positive, it was unity, and it was determination.
It was all ages and sizes, colors. It was absolutely amazing. And I saw plenty of young women too, and I think that means a lot to me, and especially seeing little girls becoming involved in this kind of thing, because they are our future. And women my age, we have a lot of responsibility as well, but it's our job to also raise these little girls to make their lives easier, to inspire them to want to do what all these women have done for us.
100 years from now, we will not be here. So if we don't take the time, take the opportunity to teach the young, to bring them out and expose them to what is happening, to just give them some great lessons learned so that they can take with them as they start their journey and hopefully continue to pass on legacy of Tennessee Triumph, take forth the 100-year anniversary, and just be able to be that voice that we're going to need in the future, because Yolanda will not be there. So we need some baby Yolandas to come along and continue to march. I think if 1920 had not happened, 1965 would have been further down the road. So as we tie those things together, I personally, as a woman, an African American, a veteran, I stand for change and equality, because that is what this country needs right now. And I continue to ask those, if you are not registered to vote, please do so and be ready to have your voice heard in this upcoming election.
I stayed in the car, or I could not have been a part of the day. I could not, if Cara had not taken me down that street, I could not have been there. I delayed my knee surgery 2 months so that I could be a part of this. 4 days later, here I am. Whether or not we had it as we planned it, or the way it came out, just magnificent, just magnificent.
Rosalind, Carita, myself, quite a few of us senior citizens who have been involved in activists for quite some time. I'm sure we were expected to be there, but what amazed me the most were the young people. And not only the young people, but the younger ones. There was a young lady who was 10 years old and another one who was 9. I can't imagine how powerful that is, to see children who are wanting to participate in their governmental process and take part and move the needle an inch further. For anybody who lives here, it is important that you discover your community, you get involved in your community, you vote in your community, and you participate.
For current and exclusive content, subscribe to CDE Lightband, connecting you at the speed of light.